Another thing that I like to do myself is build musical instruments out of cigar boxes. And Cigar Box Nation has become like the central hub. We have about 3,000 members, and this is where people post their plans. They post tips for building. They post sources for buying cigar box guitar equipment. And they post videos of playing the cigar box guitars. It's really cool. And the innovation in cigar box building from, the early 1900s when they started being made in the Deep South didn't change much at all until, 2 or 3 years ago when this website appeared. And now the innovation has just exploded, and people are using all sorts of different resonators in addition to cigar boxes, and new ways of stringing the instruments and winding the instruments and adding electrification to them. And so we've had, this very, flat curve of development, and then as soon as it hits online, things change really fast. And that's the way it has changed with everything, robotics, electronics, mechanisms, and then moving from online into the real world. These places called hacker spaces, they're kind of like gym memberships where you pay $100 a month and you get access to all the equipment, but instead of, exercise bicycles and weightlifting machines, you get access to laser cutters and lathes and computer numerical control mills and things like that. There's one in New York called NYC Resistor, and they're all over the world. I was just checking out hackerspaces.org that kind of lists all these different places around the world. There's some in India, Egypt, Iran, Pakistan, Kenya, Myanmar, all over the place, and really cool things are happening there. And like a gym, you know how you pay a trainer to learn how to use the equipment. You can pay a little extra and take workshops where people teach you how to use the equipment or learn how to build certain kinds of projects that you might be interested in doing, like mold making, for instance. There are a little higher level of hackerspaces are these new things called tech shops where they have really high-end equipment, and you pay, it's a membership-based kind of a place, and you can make really high-end cool things. There's this guy who started making a case for his iPad that looks kind of like a Moleskine notebook case. He calls it the Dodo case, and he had no idea how to make it, but he just thought it would be fun to make this thing and see if I could sell some to my friends. So he went into the tech space in San Francisco, or the tech shop in San Francisco, and people there helped him and said, why don't you use bamboo for the inside to snap the iPad in, and showed him how to bind the book and cut the sides and everything. And it's turned out to be a really big business, and I think he's got like 50 employees now, and there's always backlog orders for them, and he's branched out into making pouches and things like that, all because he started going into the tech shop and learning how to get this stuff done. The software to design these things has really gone down in price. It's to zero, in fact, with Google SketchUp, which is a great 3D design program that's absolutely free. Just a few years ago, I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I worked in the disk drive industry. We would, when we finally got 3D modeling software, it was $10,000 for a site license, and you'd have to pay by the hour to use the software. And now programs like SketchUp or Libre's Design PE, which cost $99, are much more powerful than the stuff I was using. And when people make these digital models, they are uploading them and sharing them online at places like Thingiverse, and they have these 3D models, and people can grab those 3D models and modify them any way that they want, and then use 3D printers or other kinds of service bureaus to produce the parts. There's chains, gears, eyeglasses, a toothpaste tube squeezer, a vise. And And the world of hardware prototyping, making new electronic devices, has really changed a lot too. You used to have to really know a lot about software and coding, and you had to have access to expensive equipment to create the custom chips and things like that. But now they have microcontrollers. I like the Arduino. It's a microprocessor. It's open source. It costs about $40. And the software platform is free and open source. And basically, it is a miniature computer that can accept inputs from sensors. Push button, a humidity sensor, a light sensor, events that it reads from the internet, altitude sensors, any kind of information that can be turned into a digital or analog electrical signal, and then will produce an output to any kind of effector that you want. So, you know, a solenoid, or an actuator, or a servo, or a motor. The possibilities are endless, and the programming is pretty simple. It was designed for artists and creative people who are non-technical to use it. There's a huge online user community for this stuff, and so it's really easy to just go online and search for something. I was building an appliance, a kitchen appliance that holds a jar of organic peanut butter, and every 24 hours rotates it 180 degrees as a way to keep the oil and the solid part of the peanut butter nice and consistently mixed all the time. And so I just went online and looked for a program that would rotate a servo motor 180 degrees, and I found one right away, and I just did a little bit of modification so that it would do it every 24 hours. This is an example of a cool Arduino hack that somebody made, it was for someone's getting ready to propose marriage to his fiancée. This little box can only be opened on one place on the planet. It's got a GPS in it, and an Arduino, and a little electrical latch. And so you have to go to a certain GPS coordinate around the world, and once you get there, the box, the little latch, you can hear go click, and you can open it up, and when she opened it up, the engagement ring was inside the box. So then another really exciting part about research and development is getting funding to make this stuff. You know, it's inexpensive, but there are some things that are kind of costly to develop. And sites like Kickstarter.com give people the opportunity to kind of crowdsource funding for projects. So what you can do is you go to Kickstarter.com and you put a proposal of something that you want to make and develop. And so here's an example. Somebody wanted to make an open source laser cutter, and they needed $10,000 to do it. And they ended up getting $20,000 to develop it. And now they're going to go ahead and make this thing. And so this opportunity for funding didn't exist, you know, 1 or 2 years ago, and now it's happening. So I'm really expecting this kind of thing to take off a lot. The senior editor at Make Magazine, a fellow named Paul Spinrad, our projects editor, is taking this to the next level by turning it into a way to do kind of crowdsource investing. And so he's been flying to Washington, D.C. and speaking to the SEC, who has been really receptive to this idea of having people be able to invest, you know, $5, $10, $50, and get a return on their investment. So you can imagine, you know, a kind of Kickstarter where people can invest in things that they think have a chance of making it in the market, and they will actually get a return on their investment and make money, which makes this idea of funding even more attractive. Right now it's kind of limited so that, you know, with lasers, so you have to, you know, if you donate $1,000 or something, then you'll get a laser sword back for that. But if you donate less, you know, you might get a T-shirt or a discount on it, or just a call out, you know, on the website. So sourcing is another thing that's changed. In the old days, you would go, to source your parts to build something, you would have to go to like a surplus store. Like here's the Black Hole Military Surplus Store in Los Alamos, and it's just like a huge junk store, and you just have to kind of dig around and look through bins and go in the back, and open up boxes and stuff. But today the internet is like an indexed surplus store. You just type in what you're looking for, and you'll find it. And as often or not, you can get cool stuff for what my friend Mr. Jalopy calls chewing gum money. And if you're interested in a motor, you go to McMaster Car, and you can find any kind of motor that you need. Before, it was really kind of a hard thing to do. I remember in my engineering days, we'd have catalogs, and we would just go through them, and it was really hard to source parts. Now it's very simple. You go to eBay, you can find electronic components like a thermistor to measure temperature. Anything you want is available. I typed in thermistor on eBay, and I got 622 results. If you're looking for radioactive ore, you go to United Nuclear. It's interesting how the high radiation level material is all sold out. I'm not sure what's going on there. And then garage sales. Do-it-yourselfers live in a Gen -2 world, kind of, where they live 2 generations from the cutting edge, because that's where you can get stuff for pennies on the dollar. You can buy, great computers. You can buy, stereo components for next to nothing, because people want to get rid of it and want to get the latest shiny thing. But the makers want to get this stuff that's a couple of generations old because it's so cheap, and then they can tear it apart and modify it to their own end. And then desktop manufacturing is a new one of the 4 main areas of DIY innovation that are making changes. And there are 4 drivers in desktop manufacturing: the rise of 2D and 3D services, inexpensive CNC machines, inexpensive laser cutters, and inexpensive 3D printers. And so there's a place in New Zealand. It's an online site, international. They're just based in New Zealand. It's called Pinocco.com. And it's kind of like a cafe press for 2-dimensional parts that can be constructed into 3-dimensional parts, kind of IKEA style. What you can do is, if you're a designer, you can make a design using Adobe Illustrator or any kind of drawing program, and then send the plans or the file to Pinocco, along with a description of what it is and what it does, and then a price for how much you want to sell it for. And then Pinocco will, when someone orders that, Pinocco will then laser cut the part out and ship it to the person. And there's a variety of materials that you can make the objects out of. There's cardboard, fabric, metal, plastic, rubber, or wood. And so this is a cool little birdhouse made out of bamboo, and it sells for $95. And if you order it, it comes to you flat, and you snap it together. And then there's 3-dimensional services like Shapeways.com, where you send in your 3D models that you've designed using Google SketchUp that didn't cost anything. And then you also, it's similar to Pinocchio. You just set the price, and then people can order it. So here's a little light that you can put a little LED light bulb in. It's $22, or a gold-plated ring for $25. Really beautiful stuff. The quality is incredible on these things. And to think that you could make a ring prototype like this, and even if you just want to make one to give to a friend or your spouse or something like that, to be able to make a ring like that for $25 and using free software to design it, we're just seeing the very beginning of what is happening here. I can't predict what is going to happen in the next couple of years in this world, but I do think it's going to be really profound.